Hello. There's a case that's been circulating around national newspapers in recent days and has been shared many times online that has provoked strong reactions. I think primarily because of the statement of the judge. So I'm going to read this out. It's from The Guardian, so hardly a reactionary right wing tabloid. Um, The Guardian's well known to be very left wing. So I'm going to read this out and then make it try and explain why I feel the way I do about this. Student who stabbed boyfriend may avoid jail as it would damage her career. Aspiring surgeon Lavinia Woodward admits attack but judge defers sentencing because of her extraordinary talent. An Oxford University student who stabbed her boyfriend with a bread knife may not go to jail because it could damage her prospects of a medical career, a court has heard. Aspiring heart surgeon Lavinia Woodward punched and stabbed her boyfriend during an alcohol and drug-fueled row at Christ Church College. She admitted unlawfully wounding the Cambridge University student, whom she met on the dating app Tinder. Judge Pringle QC, sitting at Oxford Crown Court, said he would take an exceptional course and defer a sentence for 4 months, hinting that Woodward will not be jailed because of her talent. It seemed to me that if this was a complete one-off, to prevent this extraordinarily able young lady from not following her long-held desire to enter the profession she wishes to be would be a sentence which would be too severe, he said. What you did will never, I know, leave you, but it was pretty awful, and normally it would attract a custodial sentence, whether it's immediate or suspended, he said. Woodward, who lives in Milan, Italy, with her mother, stabbed her then boyfriend in the leg after punching him in the face. She then hurled a laptop, glass and jam jar at him during the attack on the 30th of September last year, the court heard. She was in court to hear the judge's comments. The court was told that Christ Church would allow her to return in October because she is that bright and has had articles published in medical journals. Mitigating James Sturman QC said his client's dreams of becoming a surgeon were almost impossible as her conviction would have to be disclosed. She had had a very troubled life and was abused by a previous boyfriend, he said. Woodward will be sentenced on the 25th of September. She was given a restraining order and told to stay drug free and not to reoffend. Okay, to me, this case and the statement of this judge stinks, stinks of absolute privilege. It stinks of this situation we have in society where privilege can determine the outcome. Now, in theory, the legal system in England and Wales, it's separate in Scotland and Northern Ireland, should be equality before the law. Clearly, this is a strong indicator that it is not. I take issue with this for so many reasons. There are a lot of people weighing in on this, pontificating their views, and I can understand that because I think people are responding to the fact that basically she is getting away scot-free with this. Now, sentencing hasn't happened. Hopefully, common sense will prevail and she will be held to account for her actions. But it seems to me that if this judge has a say in it, I don't know whether he's presiding over that trial. I imagine he will. Um, she's going to get away with it. I think that is perverse. Um, the big emphasis here is on the fact that she apparently has merits as an aspiring surgeon, that it's her life dream, as if she is not the first person to, ruin their life dream because of committing a serious crime. I am adamant that if she was from a council estate, if she'd never went to university, and especially if she was a he, we would not be seeing this response. We just wouldn't. And I am shocked that there are people actually trying to suggest that her merits should somehow be a mitigating factor. I'm not just talking about the legal defence. There are actually people who are weighing in on this debate and saying that some people are more useful to society than others, and that should be taken into consideration. It's basically saying if you go to Oxbridge, if you are from an educated background, if you're from a privileged background, you can commit a serious crime and get away with it. This emphasis on being a one off, we're not talking about shoplifting. We're talking about a serious assault. involving a knife. The report says absolutely nothing about showing remorse. The report also indicates that the entire emphasis of this judge is on her. The fact that he talks about her in such flowery, respectful terms, this extraordinary, able young lady, like he admires her. What sort of, I won't say something that I regret, but frankly, cases like this infuriate me because it's just so woefully out of touch with reality. And anyone who is saying that her merits should mean that she escapes justice, I'm realistic. I know that we do not live in a fair society. There's never going to be a situation where we have absolute fairness. But that does not mean that that unfairness should be encouraged. It doesn't mean that this sort of thing shouldn't be called out. I really hope this case is reviewed. Clearly, she needs some sort of drug rehabilitation. But yeah, she should have to answer for her crimes. Um, she punched and stabbed her boyfriend and threw things at him. I mean, this is not a small offence. This is not like she lost her temper and slapped him. This was a serious. I mean, it's a good thing he survived. The report doesn't suggest he died, but the attitude of this judge is utterly perverse. What about the victim? What about the victim's rights? I just find it staggering that there are people who are actually trying to suggest that because she is talented in one area, then I mean that's the point actually. If she has drug dependency, do you really want her working around surgical equipment, performing a complex operation? Do you want someone with a knife offense to be working with sharp medical equipment? I mean, I can just imagine a situation. Clearly, she has a temper problem. So if she falls out with a colleague, is she going to lash out with, a surgical knife? I have no sympathy with her. And this thing about okay, she was abused by a previous boyfriend. You know what? A lot of people have had problems in their life. A lot of people have ghosts from their past. It is not an excuse to commit serious crime, and it should not be used as a sort of alibi. Again, someone from a council estate that said they came from an abusive background, would they? Let's say for the sake of argument, you have a guy who's a defendant. He's from a council estate. He has no university education. Let's say he came from an abusive background. Let's say his parents beat him up as a kid. Would that be taken into consideration? Possibly. It sure as hell wouldn't mean it wouldn't lead to a judge coming out with a statement like that. I just think it stinks that there is this mentality that someone's privilege, and that's what it is, should let them off the hook. I mean, is this 2017 or 1917? One off or not, this was a serious crime. I mean, we are not talking about a minor offence here. So yeah, I do feel very strongly about it, and the report doesn't suggest any sort of remorse on her part. And even if she is remorseful, she has to be accountable for her actions. The fact that she could actually escape a custodial sentence, in fact, by the indication of this, the fact that they are suggesting that any sort of criminal record would damage her career opportunities, they're not even indicating that she would get a community sentence. She's been granted a restraining order. That is it. That's nothing. She's probably going to find some other boyfriend who then she'll impose her temper problem on, her drug problem on. As far as I'm concerned, she needs rehabilitation, but yeah, she needs to go to jail as well because not everyone who takes drugs is guilty of violent assault. And I do not think that the choice to take drugs should be used as an alibi. I just, For me, it's a basic point about fairness. And you cannot have a situation where because someone has extra merits, like they happen to be very skilled at one particular endeavor, they happen to have ambitions, that should mean that they basically get a tap on the wrist. What sort of society is that? What sort of jurisprudence is that to say that somebody, I mean, basically you're saying, take for example, Roman Polanski committed some pretty serious crimes. Yet, because he was a successful film director, the Hollywood establishment were lining up to make excuses for him. This is wrong. And I'm sure there's other examples out there. There should be equality before the law. It shouldn't be a question of, oh, well, can someone provide to society? That should not be the only question. It should be about accountability. If someone has committed a serious crime, I don't care if they're a brain surgeon, I don't care if they're a Nobel laureate, that should be taken into consideration. And I think it is perverse that people are arguing that if someone has extra merit, it actually recalls. I remember a case in the 1920s, very high profile case. Now, the outcome was different because in this case, the two defendants were given long sentences. Um, they were two very privileged, I can't remember if it was Harvard or Yale, Nathan Loeb and Nathaniel Gamwell. It was a famous case in the 1920s. They basically abducted the young boy, killed him, for no other reason than they wanted to test their knowledge against the police. It was a sick social experiment that they wanted to try. They committed murder to do it. Now, in that case, they were given whole life sentences. One of them was murdered in prison. But is that what we are saying? That if people are intelligent, if they have some skill in some area, they can get away with anything? I think that is a perverse argument. I mean, if you want to take this argument to its extremes, some of the worst dictators in history have been very skilled at certain endeavors. Mao was a great calligrapher. Hitler was a decent artist. So if you want to take this line that's, I don't even want to humor it because I think it is just so wrong. It's almost like Nazi eugenics. Like certain people are worth more. I think it stinks, to be quite honest. And yeah, I feel very strongly about it. This so called judge, Ian Pringle, was clearly taken in by her. Um, clearly he's flattered by her. She's a charming young woman, and the fact she's pretty probably helps. I don't think that's conjecture. I think you have to look at what he said and the sort of way he is saying this. If this was a man from a council estate, the judge would be talking about, there would be a different attitude. And I think it stinks.